Okay, so specially today I will prove that Van Compen theorem. So I will not give the exact proof. I will actually give the outline of the proof. So most of the part I will do, and one part I keep just the outline only. But that is very important because there will be many applications from the Van Compen theorem. Even during exam, you will face some problems from the Van Compen theorem. And for that, you need that construction. That's when you cannot skip the construction. That's when whenever you solve the problem, you have to do the same approach. Okay. So just be careful about that. Though it is a big theorem, but you cannot skip the proof because you have to. The application itself is just a construction. So first of all, I will define two notation, two concept actually. So one is free group, another one is free product of groups. Do you know this concept that is free product of groups or free group? Do you know that?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So just listen. See, this one and free group both are different thing. Free group and free product of group. These two are different. Okay. So free product means we are doing a product which is free. That's when which is not depending on others. And free group means the group is free. That's when in the generator there is no relation. Okay, so that's when the generators are independent to each other. So anyway, so I will first prove this one, give the definition of this one, free product of groups. So let say G alpha, say alpha belongs to some index set, be a collection of group. Okay, so G alpha can be any group. It can be abelian, it can be non-abelian, it can be any group, any arbitrary group. And this collection is also arbitrary collection. That's when you can take two, you can take three. In fact, you can take infinitely many. Okay, so this is just a collection of groups. Now we define first of all a set. This one. This one means we are taking that free product of all of the groups. Okay, so this is just a notation, and then we will define the group structure on this. So first we write this as a set.
Sir, your voice is not clear.
Oh, is it? Just a minute, I should check then. Fine. I don't know why it is not showing. Ah, now it is showing.
Sir, actually, it is clear. Sometimes there's a break in voice.
Okay, that may be for the network issue. Okay. Okay, so we define this as a set. First of all, this consists of elements. This kind of element it has. Say G1, G2, G3, Gn. Okay, So this way we are writing the elements of this, where n is some natural number. You can write greater equal to 0 as well, but I am writing for a time being, it is belongs to natural number. Okay, so this one. And it has another property that any two adjacent element will not be in the same group. Or here we can write here where Gi is non-identity elements of G alpha I. Okay, so that's when we are taking the non-identity elements and we are just writing in terms of a word. That's all. And there is a property that Gi and Gi plus 1, that is any two conjugative word, conjugative letters are not in same group. Okay, so this way we are listing this, and also we add empty word. Okay, so these are the elements of this set. Now how to define a group on this one? Now just take any two elements, say G1, G2, G3, Gn, and take another element, say H1, H2, H3, say Hm. Remember that n is just a finite one. Okay, then we will write it just as a single word in this way: G1, G2, Gn, H1, H2, H in this way. And now the question is, it may happen that the Gn and H1 belongs to the same group. It may happen that. Now, if this happens, then we will combine them. And then this forms a group. Now then this forms a group. And you can see that what is the identity element? Now identity element will be that empty word and G1, G2, Gn. Its inverse will be actually Gn inverse, Gn minus 1 inverse up to G1 inverse. So this one. So this one will be the inverse elements. And also this is an well-defined group. Why it is well-defined? Because we are writing in terms of reduced words, right? So whenever we have this product, so if this two, so we know that these conjugatives are different group, these conjugative are in different group, but if these two are in the same group, then we combine it. That's all. And if that is identity, say one is inverse of another, then we just remove that, and again we write in terms of say G1, G2 up to Gn minus 1, and then H2 up to Hm. And then again we look for this. If they are in different group, we will stop here. If they are in the same group, then we combine it. Okay, and any question?
Sir, what do you
Uh,
mean by empty word?
empty word means just write say 1. That's all. That's mean for an example, whenever you have say G1 and say another one is G1 inverse, then you will write it is 1. Just write in this way, or you can write 0 as well. Because we need identity.
It will be the identity of group G1.
No. It is not identity of the group G1. You write in this way. We define, right, it is identity of G1, right? But we are not writing in this way because now whenever you are writing this product, so there is no relation with G1, G2 or Gn or G alpha. There is no relation with that. So we write in terms of, it is an induced word, right? So induced word means when two elements are in the same groups, then we generally they are just cancelled out, right? And then we will get a word. So that is called the empty word. So that's when you can think of it is the identity elements of all of the GI, and they are the same. You can think like that.
So uh, like what should be the identity element in this group?
Identity element will be that empty word, and you just need a name is. You can name it is 5. You can name it is 1. Just name it 1. Name it is 1. That's all.
If we have two elements from distinct G alphas, so
Mhm.
I have like G and H, and both are say no, they are not identity. Then will they necessarily commute with? Will they necessarily and
No, no. What I
dis?
did not get your question. Can you repeat it again?
Yeah. So I was saying that are the elements in distinct groups necessarily non-commuting? Like if I have
Right. So whenever you are taking an element G, say from G1, say G, group A G, and say some H from H, that's mean they are distinct. They cannot be equal as a word.
right, and they will also not commute with each other, right? Because G
Exactly. They are not commuting. That is why it is called free group. Free product of
okay.
groups. That's mean there is no relation.
And if I have say identity element of G and identity element of H,
Huh.
and those two will also not commute.
But we are not taking that identity elements here in this product.
Right. This is arbitrary product.
Right. Yeah, but I
So
have
okay,
written
then
that I
necessarily
have written that
non-identity.
I have written that GI is non-identity element of
Oh,
G.
okay.
We are taking only non-identity elements, and I am taking only one identity, and it is called that empty word. That is not any word.
Sir, if GN and HM are in same group, then they will combine or not?
Right. They will combine. That is the called they are reduced, right?
So, but they don't commute, then how HM will?
No. Commute, not commute. They will be combined. Combined to a single letter.
So, if they are consecutive, then we can combine, or we can combine any two elements in the word
No.
anyway.
Don't think about that commutative. You just combine them. That means suppose you have a group. Say you have say GN and H1 is in the same group,
Yes,
and
sir.
say they are not identity. Their product is not identity. That means one is not inverse of other. Then we will stop here only. We will stop here only and on combining these two.
And if GN and HM are in same group,
Right. That's what I'm saying. Then we just combine to a single element. So we are not writing this in a word. In that case, we will write it is some G1, G2, say some G dash N, and then H2 up to Hn. In dash way we are writing. And Gn dash means this one.
sir, I am talking about HM, not H1. If they are not
HM.
consecutive,
Which one?
like if two words, two letters, two elements of a group that are not consecutive in the given representation,
Hmm.
like one is G2 and other is S2, they are from same group.
It may
Then
happen. It may happen.
then will they combine?
No. They will not combine.
Okay.
They are in the different part, right? They will
So,
not combine. Now,
so
first I am giving one you example. Then lots of doubt will be clear. Now, suppose you are taking Z2 star Z2. Okay. Now, what is Z2? It has two elements, right? Now we call it is 1 and A, where A square equal to identity, right? This is one Z2 and another Z2. We cannot take same A, right? Because that is the group. Another is 1 comma B, where B square equal to 1. Then what will be the elements of this? Now we list all the elements. First we take empty word, say this is 1. Then we take A and we take B. Both are elements of this. A square will not be here. B square will not be here because A square is identity. Then next element will be again see A equal to A inverse. So we don't have to write A inverse as well. Then AB, BA. Then A, B, A, B, A, B. then A, B, A, B. In this way, you are listing all the elements. That is an infinite group. And if you take A, B, say B, A, then you can check it is your A. Now B square A, right? A, B square A, but B square is identity. So we'll remove that. So A, then again it is identity. A square is, so it is 1. Now AB into BA will be 1. Okay, and this is your group. So these are the elements of the group. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now this is just free group. Okay, free product of groups. Now we will talk about free group. Now what is free group? Now free group has a generator. Okay. Now a free group is a free group generated by a set S equal to some S alpha. Okay, so we will call a free group generated by a set S. So what we will take? So first, so what is that free group? You should understand that. Now it is generated by this set, right? Now what we will do? Now for each S alpha, we will first generate a infinite cyclic group. Okay. So now take that S alpha equal to this group. So 1, S alpha inverse, S alpha square, S alpha minus 2 in this way. We are talking about cyclic group. And then the group G, which is product of this S alpha, is called the free group generated by the set S. And you can see that G is isomorphic to that product of Z only. Oh, sorry. That free product of Z only. So this is called free group.
Sir, S alpha may be finite too.
No, S alpha not finite because I am taking one word S alpha and we are taking an infinitely cyclic generated group. That means this is isomorphic to Z. S
So
alpha is
how
just a word. So it is just a
we just
just a
so,
letter.
so we just took any set and maybe the element maybe of finite order.
No, you cannot. There is no order, right? Now your set is like that. You can take S equal to say A comma B. Now there is no order there. It
So
is just an
then how we are applying operations?
no. For each A, we are generating first a group S alpha. So for each element, first we generate a group, and then we are taking product of group. So S is just a set of some elements. It can be finite element. It can be infinitely many elements.
So A inverse will just be notation for the inverse of A.
Exactly. So you have some word S alpha, and this is just a notations, and this is isomorphic to Z. You can see that, right? So
Yes.
S
Sir,
alpha.
So if one belongs to this set S.
No, no, no. One does not belong to the set S. We are generating a group S alpha, capital S alpha, by the element small s alpha.
Sir, this S consists the elements S alpha, and each S alpha are from a group which has a particular structure, right?
Right. So for an example, suppose your S equal to your A comma B, two elements. Now what we will take? We will first generate this group. Now you know what is the generated by A. That is 1, A square, A inverse, A minus 2, all of these elements, right? And this is just infinite cyclic group. And similarly, you have B, so 1, B, B inverse, B squared, B minus 2 in this way. This is isomorphic to Z. Now, then you take this product. And this is, you know, what is the product? Is 1, A, B, A inverse, B inverse. Then that's A square, B square, A minus 2, B minus 2. Then you have AB, BA, A inverse, B inverse, B inverse, A inverse. Then you have A square B, B square A in this way, all of this or all of the combinations. And this is called free group generated by S. And this group is called the free group generated by S. And this is
How do you
isomorphic
know
to
that B
Z
square and
square
B inverse are well defined?
B square.
And B inverse, what you wrote, are well defined?
What do you mean by well defined? You have just a letter and you define a, this is the notation. If you write a notation, that does not mean that it is well defined, right? I am not defining anything. It is just a notation.
Means like free products.
No, it is not a free product. Writing just a notation. What do you mean by a group generated by a one letter? So here this is a letter, this is also a letter, this is also a letter, this is also a letter. These are just a letter and they are independent. So free product of group, free group is actually, any free group is actually isomorphic to some free product of Z, finite or infinite number of copies. And this way you generate actually the free group.
So my question was, if we take an element of S to be one, simply one identity element.
You want to take S equal to singleton 1.
Yes, sir.
And then what will be the free group generated by S?
Yes, so then whatever with the power of one we will take, it will be one only.
See, first of all, whenever you have, why do you take this one? You have free group generated by single set. Your A is a set, right? Now, if you want to write that, you can take your that one generated by, you can take a identity element, you can take a different name, you can write one, you can write 1 square, you can write 1 minus 1, you can write 1 minus 2. What is the problem? S is a set. I am not saying that it is that one means your real number one, right?
Yes, sir.
Then how do you know that 1 square will be 1? How do you know that 1 minus inverse is 1? It is just a set. Set means it does not have any operation.
Yes, sir.
That is just a notation. And since you are you will be confused with 1, so better to write, when you have single element, just better to write a singleton A. That's all. Okay, that's mean we are just, these are the notations. So we are taking just a letters. It does not have any operation. S is just a set. It does not have any operation.
Answering like free product When we are writing AB and BA, they will definitely be different elements.
Right, they're definitely different. There is
Okay.
no relation between them.
Okay.
Okay, but here, so this is a free group because A, B, and BA both are different, right? So this is called. So this is a free group because free group means always isomorphic to Z star Z kind of thing, and this is a free product of group. Now this free product of group, it is not a free group because you can see that because this letter that A square B is not there. So free group means it is should be it is generated by some elements and it will be only some copies of product of some copies of Z. Okay, and free product of group means you can do product of any group. For an example, this you can take any group and then you can take the free product. But free group is different. Free group means it is just a free product of Z only. That's all. What we are writing actually, so we are defining in this way. Free product means free group means it is just a free product of Z's, right? So we are just writing Z in terms of this,
Can it
and
be like an infinite product of Z's?
right, of course you can write in that is also that is possible. Not only you can take uncountable many objects. So you generally write this alpha belongs to some lambda Z. Now this lambda can be anything, can be uncountable as well. There is no restriction on that. But remember that even if it is uncountable, if you take any elements from this, that element should be in this form, Gn. Only finite number of will be there. It cannot be infinite. So if you take G1, G2 in this way, if it is going, now this is not an element of this. You should have up to finite product. It should be a finite product of this. It is just a non-abelian version of your direct sum, or you can say direct product of group. For an example, you know this. And you have suppose this, which you know that product, right? Now, can you tell me what is the difference between these two? And another one is Z, direct sum Z, finite Z, and Z cross Z. Now, this is called a product of groups, and this is called a direct product or called direct sum of groups. And if both are finite, then both are same actually. Now, if this is infinite, then what is the main difference between these two? Do you know that?
Yes, direct sum will only consists of tuples where finite number of elements are non-zero,
Right.
and a product may have like all non-zero
Infinite.
elements.
It is not any choice, right? It can be
Uh,
anything.
uh.
So that's when if you take 1, 1, 1, that belongs to that. But if you take all of this one, that does not belong to this one. Because this consists only elements this form. So say G1, G2, sum up to G, say some M, and then remaining all are 0. Okay, so this is the main difference between this and this. And here we are just generalizing this one. So that is the non-abelian version. Okay, so any other question on free group and free product of group? So we need this concept because when we actually that Van Compen theorem use that free group only, and we will find that fundamental groups in terms of this free product of groups only. So that is the reason we need this concept. The main thing is you have to remember that whenever you have this one, so free product of groups, just remember that we are taking the elements which consist only finite this product, and these are just notations. That's mean there is no relation with G1 with G2, and G1 G2 these are not numbers, there is no operation there. We are giving some notations. For an example, we are writing Gn inverse G1 inverse. This is just a notation to understand that G1 inverse into G1 that will vanish.
So then what is the idea behind taking non-identity elements? Like if it's a notation, we can give a notation to the identity element also.
Right, because if you take identity element, then the problem will be that that one, the way we are defining, that will not be a well-defined one. Because of we need that identity element should vanish. Otherwise, it will not be well-defined. Otherwise, a group will have many representations.
Like IA will be AI.
Right. For an example, if suppose your GN is identity, right? Then that will be one representation with GN, and you can remove that GN, and then you will have another representation. So you will have two representation for a group. So that is not well defined, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay, so that is the reason. That is the reason we are taking only non-identity element, so that we can give a only one way we can represent a product. Okay, so this is all about the group part. Now we move to our next main problem. Okay, now first of all, what we'll do, so that Van Compen theorem statement is something different. Anyway, we will not generally use also that one. We generally use a easy version of Van Compen theorem in general. But anyway, so both proofs are same. So first of all, we see that easiest version of the Van Compen theorem. We will see the proof of that one, except only one part. One part I will not prove, and I will give the outline of one part, and remaining part I will prove. And then I will state the Van Compen theorem, which is little bit generalization. The proof are the same. So first of all, so let A and B be two path connected topological space. Topological spaces. Okay, such that A intersection B is also path connected. Okay, now take an element from A intersection B and say X equal to A union B. Okay, so that's mean a topological space X can be written as it can be written as union of two path connected topological space, so that their intersection is also path connected, and we choose an element from this. Okay, so that's mean this is your situation. So this is your A, this is your B, and we are choosing an element this, and this is your whole space X. Okay. Now then you can talk about pi1 a comma x0, pi1 b comma x0, pi1 a intersection b comma x0, and pi1 x comma x0. Now we can talk about all of these four fundamental groups because both have all of four have same base point x0, right? Now we will give Van Kampen theorem gives a relation between these fours. That's all. So first of all, we understand the maps. Now say IA is a map from A intersection B to A. Remember that these are the steps. And if you if you solve a problem, you have to write all of these steps as well. Okay. So very carefully listen this. This is your IA. Okay. IA means this one. We are writing in this way. IB means so A intersection B to B. And we are writing another one, say JA, that is A to X, and JB, B to X. And all are the inclusion map. Inclusion map. Okay. So that's mean this is the situation. Okay. This is okay. I will draw later. Now suppose you have one element y1 A intersection B comma x0. This you have one loop in this loop. Now can you tell me what will be then IA star this? Yes, what will be that? It is also just a notation. We use this notation. What will be this?
Class of W in A, the pi 1A.
Right. That is a simple. Now that will be W, but that class will be changed, right? So that will be A. Now similarly, IB star W equal to WB. Right? This one. Now tell me what will be then if you take another in this element, say JA star, now WA.
WX.
Right. So that will be WX. That will be again WX. Okay. Now these are different. Now what about these two? These two are same or different? These two are totally different word, different letter, right? Because this is comes from fundamental group of A. This is one group element, right? This is the element of the group this, and this is the element of this group. So they are different, right? Okay. Now, if you take pi1 A comma x0 star pi1 B comma x0, this one. Okay, that is the free product of this group. Now, if you take, so this is, and you have taken say pi1 x. Now, how to define these groups? Okay, now we know that this is Windows, and we also know these groups. Okay, this is comma x0. Now, what we'll do, we will define a map from this to this. Now, can you give me one simple way to define this map? Forget about this one. We don't need the upper part. Just this is the simple way how to define this. Now what will be any elements of this? Pi1, this and this star this. What will be an elements? Can you give me one element?
Sir, if we multiply both the homotopes, represent
So
like
this is just simple. If you take any element, then any element will look like this one only. So say this is my A, this is my B. That will be alternate class. Say A, and we don't know it is A or B. It can be A or B. It can be right this one, this way, or it also start with B as well. That does not matter, right? So these are the elements of this, right? We know that is a finite kind of world, and then we will say that will goes to this f1 x, f2 x, fn x. Okay, and so that you do not get any confusion, note that G1 star G2 and G2 star G1 are same group. This is just a notation. So both are the same group. That means that elements will be the same. I'm saying they are same group, not the isomorphic. I'm not saying isomorphic. They are actually same group. This is just a notation. This is also called free product of G1 and G2. This is also called. You can write this or this. These are the same group. Okay. Now is this map clear? This map, that phi map. Any
Says,
doubt on the? Huh?
so can you explain again like why the WX coming from WA and WX coming from WB are different? Like from coming from JA star and JB star, they are different.
Huh. What did you
Uh,
guess?
when we found the image of WA under JA star, we get WX, and the
Huh?
image of WB under JB star is WX.
Huh.
So they are different. Can you explain a bit how?
No, they're same. I'm saying the WX are same.
They are same.
Huh.
Okay.
But I'm saying that they are different. Means WA and WB are different
Yes. Okay.
because this is are from the different group, right?
Okay.
And
So do you,
by the construction, these two are same. So what we are actually, so we have pi1 a intersection b comma x0, pi1 a comma x0, pi1 b comma x0, and pi1 x comma x0. Now this is your IA star, IB star, JA star, JB star. Now if we take an element W, any element, now these images are different. Now WA, here we have WB. But again then they are come to the same one, WX, by the construction only. That's when if we start with this, and any element of this group can be written as this. We can start with B as well. We don't that you can start with B as well, and we don't know where it is stop. It can stop at B or it can stop at A as well. So there are four options actually. So it can start with A or B. It can end with A and B, A or B. So there are four options of this type of product, and that phi of this one will be just this, which is the element of pi1 x, comma x0.
so all four will have the same image. Like
Right,
if we start with A and start with
right.
B, they will
Good,
have the
good.
same image.
All four will be same image.
Okay.
If I mean, see, what is your F1A? F1A and F1B are different, right?
Yes, sir.
Ah. So we do not know in that case. So if you have F1A is in this one, that is just a notation. That F1B may not exist if your F1 is loop in A only, right? Then you cannot write F1 suffix B. What I am saying that you cannot say it is a 4 to 1 map because it may
Yeah, yeah.
happen. It may happen that F1B does not exist.
Like if we took a loop F in A intersection B, then it will be a loop in A also
Then
and B
it is
also.
fine.
Then they will have a same image.
Right. Then they will have same image.
Okay, sir.
But if you take F1 in a loop in A but not in B, then F1B that does not exist, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. Fine. Now look at about your W. Okay. Now for a W in pi1 A intersection B comma x0. Okay. Now for a W in this, if we take say W A, say W B inverse, if we take this one, now what are the elements? Now this is belongs to which group? This product, can you tell me?
Pi1 AX0 cross Pi1
Not
BX0
score, free product, right?
free product.
It belongs to pi1 A comma x0 star pi1 B comma x0, right? In fact, if you take this element as well, so W say B, W inverse A, then also it is fine. It is the same. And similarly, you can take W A inverse, WB, and WB inverse, WA. Now all four elements are in this group only, right? Now what will be phi of WA, WB inverse? Now what will be this group? Now that group will be WA and WX and WX inverse. That is identity. And similarly, you can check that others also in identity. Goes to identity. Is that clear? So that's mean WA, WB, this belongs to that kernel of this homomorphism phi. Is that clear? Yes, you need to speak. Yes or no? If you have any doubt, you should ask.
So phi, which may phi, where we
Phi,
define map phi.
phi ऐसे define किया था ना ऐसे कि ऐसे जब भी प्रोडक्ट होगा ए बी ऐसे मिक्स अप ऑल्टरनेटिवली जाएगा आइदर ए से स्टार्ट होगा और बी से स्टार्ट होगा दैट डज नॉट मैटर ये जस्ट हम इसको प्रोडक्ट से ही लिखेंगे बट ए और बी को रिप्लेस कर देंगे एक्स से दैट्स ऑल क्योंकि ये एलिमेंट होगा इस ग्रुप का एंड ए एलिमेंट हो जाएगा pi1 x0 because
Yes.
each of the loop is in pi1 x comma x0 so therefore their product is also in this
Yes, sir.
and by this construction you can check that it is also a homomorphism as well. It is same, right? Nothing will be changed. Okay, now from this phi map can you see that all of these image of all of these elements are going to 1. That's mean all of these elements are in the kernel of phi. Can you check that? Yes.
Those are easy enough from the
Huh?
definition. Those are easy, right? From the definition
That's
of.
what I'm saying. So is that clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Right. Now we take N, which is a group generated by all of these elements. Where W, this belongs to A intersection B. Phi 1 A intersection B, comma X0. This. Now you can see that if we take N from this one, then it is easy to see that all the other elements actually, this, all the elements will be in N only. Can you check? Can you guess? Sorry, it is not guess. Can you check that? If you take all, if we consider that's mean if we generate in define in this way, that is group generated by all of these elements, then you can check that all of these 4 types elements are in the N. See,
Yes, sir.
this is a group. If you take its inverse 1, then you will have WB into WA inverse. That is also N. Okay. So this has come. And now instead of W, you can check W bar as well, which is W inverse. So therefore their inverse is also coming. So therefore all of these 4 elements are actually that N. And we have also proved that N subset of kernel of phi. We have proved that as well. That is very easy from the construction.
So can you explain again, like how all 4 elements are in N?
Right. So this is N. Now if you take its inverse, what is its inverse? Its inverse will be W B, right? W A inverse. Now since it is a group generated by this, so therefore that the inverse of this is this. So therefore this is in N as well.
How do we define that this one is the inverse of this in free product with respect to free product?
You can product, you can just take this product with this, you will get identity. You can take this. Inverse, you and this is that inverse image of each other, so it vanishes, then that vanishes, so it is just an empty word. So one is inverse of other, right? Fine.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now similarly, if you replace W by W inverse, you can check that because W from this. So therefore W inverse is also in this group. Now if you replace W with W inverse, then you will get other 2 elements. These 2 elements. Sorry. This one and that inverse type inverse. Yeah, right. So these 2 elements you will get. So we are done. So that's when these 4 elements actually is in N. And we have already checked that for any elements N, this is in kernel of phi. So therefore N subset of subgroup of kernel of phi. Okay. So what we have. Okay. So we have this situation. We have defined the group phi. And we have also seen that N is subset of kernel of phi. Up to this we know. Now what we will now prove that is there are 2 different difficult part of this theorem. Okay, so first one is that map is surjective. That is the first one. That is not difficult. You have to do that one. That is not trivial. And another part is this reverse way, that is kernel of phi also subset of n. That is the most different part, which I will not prove. So that's when we will see that actually. So what will now our aim to prove that phi, this map that we were defining, this is surjective. Okay. Now since it is surjective, so therefore if we take this quotient with its kernel of phi, then that will be a isomorphism, right? That is a actually which theorem it is in group theory, some fundamental result it is. So if you have a surjective homomorphism, then if you quotient with kernel, then it will be isomorphism. Okay. So therefore we will have an isomorphism from this group quotient with its kernel of phi with this. They are isomorphic. And then we will check that kernel of phi is actually n, that group generated by this. So therefore this quotient with n isomorphic to this. Okay, so this we will prove now. Now this is also easy. That first part is also easy, not the difficult one. So what will prove that? That phi defined from pi1 x comma x0 star pi1 x comma a0 star b comma b0 to pi1 x comma x0 is surjective. Okay. So what are the situation we have? We have this situation. And this is my x. So that red one was A, this was B. Okay. Now how to show that it is surjective? How to show that it is surjective? So मुझे हमें क्या प्रूव करना है? क्या प्रूव करना है बताओ?
It's like if we take a homotopy class from
F, right? X.
From pi1 x comma x naught, so it should be a finite product of the homotopy classes of A and B.
Exactly. So we have to take one element from this. That's mean F is a loop in X. So this will be say this kind of a loop. Okay. So this is a loop. So that's mean F 0 1 to X. What is X? X is A union B is a loop. Okay. Loop. Okay. One thing we have to consider here. Now when it is surjective, now given A and B are open and A, B, A intersection B path connected. Not a arbitrary one. We should need A and B both are open. Then only we can prove that this is surjective. Okay, so that is necessary. Okay, so that's when if X can be written as union of two open sets or right open topological space which are path connected and their intersection is also path connected, then this map will be surjective.
So since we take path connected spaces, then why do we mention the point x naught? Like we know that pi1 a comma x naught will be isomorphic to pi1 a.
Right. So what actually? So whenever you have path connected topological space, you can omit, or obviously you do not need to write that one. But when you calculate fundamental group, first of all, how to calculate a fundamental group? We know that with any base point, it is unique. It is isomorphic. So therefore, we can omit the base point. But to find that fundamental group, you need a base point.
Okay, sir.
Okay? Otherwise, you cannot prove anything. Whenever you start a proof, you will find some, okay, what you have to choose arbitrary base point, something like that, right? And here also I am fixing x0, because if you take x0 from other places, then that you cannot find this map. That will be some isomorphic to this one. Okay, so I am proving this one, and then you can see that fundamental group X is same as, that is isomorphic to fundamental group of A into fundamental group of B. Otherwise, you have to come to this stage and then you have to start the proof. Because to calculate the fundamental group, we need a base point. That is we need. And here to prove this theorem, we need same base. So that is the reason we are mentioning the base point here. And after that, you can omit the base point. But anyway, if you need to prove that Van Compen theorem, then you have to say that, then you have to reach first this step and then you have to prove. That's when you can say that since A is path connected, so it is independent of base point. So without loss, we can take x0 is a x0, which is in this A intersection B is the point, and then we start with that. Then you have to write these two sentences and then you have to start. So did you get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. And for in this theorem, we need A intersection B to be non-empty.
Yeah, right. Because this is non-empty by the construction, because we are saying that x0 belongs to this set. A
Okay.
intersection, right? So we are taking that one. So x0 belongs to A intersection B. That's mean it is non-empty. Okay, now we have this one. Now that is a simple one. Now what is given that f is continuous function, A and B both are open. Now let f inverse A is some disjoint union of U alpha and f inverse B some disjoint union of C beta, C V beta. This one. Okay. Now then you can write 0, 1 is a union equal to first disjoint union of this and then union, that is not a disjoint union, and disjoint union of this. Right?
Like why are these unions disjoint?
We are taking disjoint union because we are taking that, see, A is open set, so A inverse U is open set,
Right.
right?
Uh,
Now we are taking that maximize open sets only. That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. That's mean any open set can be written as union of disjoint open sets in R, right? You know that result, right?
Yes.
Any open set can be written as disjoint union of intervals actually. But here I am, yeah, we can use intervals as well. But anyway, that is open. Okay, so this. Now these sets can be infinite. These sets can be infinite. That can be, first of all. But the interesting thing is that that is compact set. Now since this is compact, we need a finite collection. Now since 0, 1 is compact, so we have a finite subcover. Okay, and since we are taking the disjoint union, okay, now these subcovers will be actually alternate. So that's mean you can just visualize this one. That is the same proof which we did. So first of all, we'd say with 0, first of all that is closed. Say this is this first one. Okay, and since that interval covers this point as well, so we need a open set something from this to this, right? Because we cannot start from here because we need that point. So it should be this. And if this intervals goes to A, Now if the first black interval goes to A, then the orange interval should goes to B, right? Because of this disjoint union. So that's is alternate kind of interval. And then another one will be this. Then another one will be this form. And finally, we may have this. Is that clear? Now what we'll take, we'll write this is my S0, this is my S1. Here one choose a point S2 and choose this point Sn minus 1 and say this is Sn. Then we will have Si, that is a partition. A partition zero, which is H0 less than S1, Sn equal to 1, such that f of that Si minus 1 Si, that is belongs to either A or B. And also f of Si, we can write as J, it is belongs to A intersection B for 1 less than equal to J less than equal to N minus 1. And this is true for 1 less than equal to J less than equal to N. Is that clear? This is I. Is that clear? See what we take, f is our continuous function. A and B both are open. So inverse image of A, inverse image of B will be open. So we write in terms of disjoint open sets, disjoint open sets. And then 0, 1 will be covered by this disjoint open set and this disjoint open sets. Since U alpha, each of U alpha disjoint, so therefore, and this whole sets cover 0, 1. So therefore, if one of them is U alpha, then the next one will be some V alpha, V beta, then again another will be U alpha kind of thing. Then in this way, you can cover the 0, 1. Right? And then from these intersections, we can take the elements. So S0, S1 in this way, you can take the elements. So therefore, this closed interval, f of this closed interval, either contained in A or contained in B. And this point, since we are taking from this one, not only the boundary points, only these S1 to N minus 1, these are in A intersection B. Fine. So there are many ways to construct this. There are many ways. So Hatcher has a different construction also for this partition. And it is the same thing which we did when we proved that uniqueness of path lifting. The similar thing we have used there. That covering spaces, that at inverse image, and then we are taking the finite cover and then we did that. That is the similar one. Okay, so any doubt up to this?
No, sir, clear to me.
Okay, good. So do any other student have any doubt? Then you should ask that, otherwise.
Clear
Because
to me, sir.
okay, fine. Now this is simple actually. Anyway, when you read, then you will understand. Now what we'll do? Now first of all, we write a different notation, say fi, which is my f restricted over si minus 1 si. So this one we need these notations. And what we'll do, now let gi is a path in A intersection B from say say Gj x0 to this f of Sj, this one. Okay, so that's mean what we are doing. Now see what is that. Now this is your loop, right? Now this is your loop, and this is somewhere will be some S. So this is my first only, this is S1 only. Okay, now what we'll do, we will take a path, this is called G1. Okay, now what is my F1? Now F1 is my this. So this is my F1 and this is my F2. Okay, now you can check that here. Now F1,
So that will not be S f of S1, as S1 is S1 belongs to 0, 1.
sorry, thanks. F of S1. Thank you. Right. Now this is my F1 and this is my F2 and this is my G1. Now therefore see this is F1 to F1 up to this and then we can move direction in G1 bar. So F1 dot G1 bar is a loop. Where it is now, this one belongs to, you can check, it is now pi1 b comma x0, right? And what is this? Now if we move go to again G, and if we go with this F2, then we will get a loop in A. Now therefore here now G1 dot F2, that is loop in A here in this figure. Okay, now similarly, now suppose if you had another one, then you can see um, if you had some another path, now you can see that I do not have picture, right? Now you can check that here. Now what is F1? Now F1 is a map, right? From 0 to S1, and then G1 is a loop, right? From S1 to 0, G1 bar. I have written G1 bar here. G1 bar. Right? Because what is F? Now this is from 0 to F S1, and it goes actually F of S1 to 0, x0. So that is a loop. Now the second one will be G1 dot F2 dot F2 G2 bar. Now again we start with x0 to fs1, then f2 goes to fs1 to some fs2, and then g2 moves to fs2 to 0. So this is now similar. You can do the product. We will have g n minus 2 f n minus 1 dot f g n minus 1 bar, and then finally g n minus 1 dot fn. So this is the product, and this is homotopic to f, the map f. Okay, so that's mean f can be written as this way. This. Okay, so this is x. Okay, this f can be written as this. Now, depending on either a or b, now without loss, we can assume that this is belongs to pi1 a comma x0. Without loss, we can assume that. Now then, f1 g1 bar dot a, g1 dot f2 g2 bar, B in this way, that Fn, say it is A. Now this belongs to this set, this group, and it goes to F by the map phi. So therefore phi is surjective. Okay. Now since phi is surjective, so therefore phi 1 A comma x0 quotient with phi 1 B comma x0 quotient with kernel of phi, that is isomorphic to phi 1 x comma x0. And we have already proved that n subset of kernel of phi. Okay, so up to this is clear to everyone?
So the last element will definitely be in A.
No. It can be. Without loss, we assume that A or B.
Okay.
We
Okay.
do not. Okay. So without loss, we can assume it is in A, it is in B, or somewhere like that. But anyway, that this will be either A or B, right? Alternately, and this will be element of this, and their inverse image, image will be F. That's all. That was we need only. Right. Now, actually, the inverse one, how one can see that inverse is also true. Now, that one, that kernel of phi, that is of subset of N. Now, this proof is actually difficult one. Okay. Now, but you can think a little bit intuitively why that is true. Now, say one element from kernel of phi. What is kernel of phi? Kernel of phi is elements of phi 1 a comma this phi 1 b comma x0. This is elements, right? Now you can think about say f g. Say this is a, this is b, belongs to kernel of phi. Okay, just write this. Now that will imply phi of f a g b, that is identity. So that's mean f of x g of x, that is identity, and that's mean f equal to g inverse, right? Now what is given? Now given that now f is a loop in A and G is a loop in B, and given that f is homotopic to so G is a loop in G, so therefore G inverse is also a loop in B. G inverse means G bar. Now f is a loop in A, G inverse is a loop in B, and it is given that A is inverse image of A is homotopic to G inverse. So therefore you can think that intuitively that F and G inverse both are loop in A intersection B. You can say that both have homotopic loop in A intersection B. You can think in this way. So therefore you can think that F G, this actually belongs to A intersection B, and let then F equal to FA equal to F equal to W and then you can write it is a W A W B inverse. You can think in this way. Right? So therefore, you can see that kernel of phi, that is subset of n as well. So therefore, n equal to kernel of phi. So therefore,
So f equal to w, then how
which one?
it will be na f of class of f in A, class into G, class of G in B equal to w in A and w inverse in A. That will be
No,
A.
no, just that's right, right. There is a gap here. I'm not giving a proof. I'm just giving you the intuitively what is the case. Because if you have some this A and this B belongs to kernel of phi, that's when this is homotopic to this. But it is given that F is a loop in A and G is a loop in B and G inverse is also a loop in B. Now F is a loop in A and G inverse is a loop in B, but they are homotopic. So therefore, intuitively you can think that both are loop in A intersection B. Intuitively you can think that, or you can say that F and G both have homotopic, both are homotopic to some loops which are in A intersection B.
Yes, but they are not homotopic. Can we prove them that f and G inverse both are homotopic?
Right, we have proved that they are homotopic, that is fine. But what I'm saying that since F is homotopic to G, you can say it is G, and one is in A and another loop is in B, so therefore intuitively you can think that both are in the same one. That is A intersection B. Okay, intuitively you can think like that. That is not a proof. That is the difficult part of this Van Kampen theorem. So you can just think about that. So they are in loop in A intersection B. So therefore we can take mod that F equal to W in this way. So therefore if F is W, so therefore G inverse will be W bar W inverse. So that's all. Okay, so what I'm saying now here, F is a loop in A and G inverse is loop in B, and it is given that this is loop in, they are homotopic. So intuitively you can think that they are homotopic to W. Okay, in A intersection B. Because that is the difficult part of this one. But anyway, there is no meaning of going through that one. Okay, because we have proved everything. Just we did not prove this portion. Now this portion you can just think in this way, and then actually we will get this statement. Say pi1 a comma x0 star pi1 b comma x0 quotient with n is isomorphic to pi1 x comma x0. What is n? Now n is generated by w a wb inverse, that group where w belongs to pi1 a intersection b comma x0. This. So that's mean if you know the fundamental group of A, fundamental group of B, and fundamental group of A intersection B, and if you know the structure, then you can compute the fundamental group of X. Now, as an application, you can easily see that fundamental group of your Sn is 0. Why? In the Sn, you can think about what is it something kind of sphere? You can think about upper half and you can think about lower half, right? Now they are contractible, upper half little bit more than this one. Then they are contractible, right? So therefore that I1 of A has fundamental group of 0, that has fundamental group of 0. So therefore, fundamental group of X will be 0. Okay, so we do not have time to go through the applications of this one. In the next lecture, we can go through the applications of this. Okay, so only for this part, that is kernel of phi is subset of n. So that is not a proof. I am just giving you the intuitive idea. So you can assume that that is true. Because for this one, so which I am saying that is true, but for each step, you need to prove that. And that proof is huge. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So we can then stop today.